You have to arrest
Karen
him!
had lost
He
it
did this!
again.
I saw
And
it!
when I say lost it, I mean she'd blasted through every boundary of sanity like she was speedrunning chaos mode. This woman had a talent for turning calm neighborhoods into battlegrounds, and ours had the privilege of being her kingdom. She strutted around acting like the HOA had signed over full ownership of everyone's property, decisions, and soul. But even with her history of barking orders, inspecting lawns like a tax auditor, and treating adults like misbehaving toddlers, nothing prepared me for the disaster waiting for me after work that evening. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. I pulled into my street exhausted, hoping to collapse on my couch when my headlights landed on something so ridiculous my brain lagged. An enormous RV, long, bulky, and aggressively unattractive, was parked right across my driveway like it had been dropped from the sky specifically to ruin my night. At first, I honestly thought someone got lost and confused my house with a parking lot. I stepped out, half dazed, trying to process why an RV was blocking my property like it paid rent. That's when Queen Karen herself popped out of nowhere, chin lifted, arms crossed, acting like she was unveiling a masterpiece. She proudly announced she had just bought the RV but refused to park it on her driveway because it interrupted her driveway aesthetics. So naturally, she had made the executive decision to place it on mine. I stood there speechless, wondering if she expected applause or if she genuinely believed this nonsense made sense to anyone living on Earth. My body wanted to yell, argue, and maybe flip something over, but the exhaustion from work held everything back. I told her she was lucky I was drained, but that RV better disappear by morning. No excuses. Then I walked inside before my patients committed a crime. Before we dive in deeply, let us know in the comments what country or which city you're watching this story from. We'd love to know how far this story travels. The next morning, I walked outside expecting peace, sunlight, maybe birds chirping, anything normal. Instead, that same ugly RV sat there like it had gained confidence overnight. Its giant frame leaned into my driveway as if mocking me. I stood there staring at it, completely baffled that Karen actually thought she could get away with this nonsense. So I pulled out my phone, called her, and asked if this was some sort of joke. She acted clueless, pretending she didn't know why I was calling. I told her she was pulling my legs, trying to test how far she could push before I snapped. I warned her clearly not to tempt me because the outcome wouldn't favor her. But Karen being Karen, she didn't even hesitate to escalate. She responded with a threat so bold, I almost laughed. She said if I laid a single finger on her beloved vehicle, she would make sure I regretted ever moving into the neighborhood. That did it. Something in me switched off. I hung up mid-sentence before she could drag me into another pointless argument, and she probably assumed I gave up. She had no idea I was already planning her problem's removal. I called my buddy, someone who actually respects boundaries and also happens to own a tow truck. When he arrived, he took one look at the RV blocking my driveway and burst into laughter. I directed him to hook it up and tow it straight back to Karen's property. Since she wasn't home, I made sure to film everything from start to finish. The chains, the lift, the wheels rolling away, it was all on camera. Once the RV was dropped perfectly in front of her garage, I sent her the entire video. No caption, no explanation, just pure evidence of her entitlement being returned to its rightful location. She didn't respond immediately, which surprised me because she usually replies faster than a smoke alarm during a kitchen fire. Hours later, my phone vibrated with a message containing only 3 words: "You'll regret this." That's when I realized Karen wasn't just angry, she was plotting. Saturday morning rolled in calm and quiet, the kind of morning you'd think would bring peace after a long week. I wasn't working that day, so I planned to relax, maybe make breakfast, and enjoy the silence that had been missing ever since Karen decided to invade my driveway with her oversized disaster on wheels. I genuinely thought towing her RV back home had delivered the message. Surely, even Karen would understand that not every homeowner could be bullied. But apparently, I was giving her way too much credit because the peace didn't even last an hour. While I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone, I suddenly heard a loud engine revving outside, way louder than anything normal for our neighborhood. Before I even stood up, tires screeched so aggressively it sounded like someone was drifting through my front yard. My heart jumped, and before I could reach the door, an explosion of noise shook the entire house. A violent bang tore through the walls as something massive crashed straight into the front of my home. The impact threw me off my feet, the world spinning as dust, drywall, and debris rained down. I hit the floor hard, coughing and trying to clear my vision. When I pushed myself up, my head throbbing, I saw the unbelievable truth. Karen's RV had plowed directly into my living room like it was auditioning for an action movie. The front end was buried inside the wall, crushed furniture surrounding it. My hands were shaking as I wiped blood from my forehead, still trying to understand what happened. Then the driver's door opened and Karen climbed out, completely unbothered. She brushed off dust like she'd simply stepped out of a parked car and immediately began yelling at me. "I told you you'd regret this," she screamed. "I'm not the type you mess with." I stared at her, stunned, barely able to form words. And then, because of course she did, she pulled out her phone and called 911. I thought I was hallucinating. She had just driven a whole RV through my house, and now she was dialing emergency services like she was the victim. When the police arrived, Karen sprang into action like she'd been rehearsing her performance in front of a mirror all morning. She ran toward them, waving her hands, pointing at the wrecked RV buried halfway to my living room like she was unveiling a crime scene. She immediately started spinning a wild story, claiming I had tampered with her brakes out of spite. According to her, the RV lost control and she barely survived. Even though witnesses could see, she didn't have a scratch on her. She dramatically clutched her chest, acting like she was moments from fainting. It would have been hilarious if my house wasn't destroyed in the background. The officers turned to me, and despite the blood on my forehead, I stayed calm. I explained everything from the beginning, from the moment she parked the RV on my driveway to the moment she threatened me after the tow. I showed them the texts, including the "you'll regret this" message she sent hours before the crash. My neighbor, who witnessed her speeding down the street, immediately stepped forward to confirm it. Another neighbor added that she'd heard the engine roaring before the collision. The officers exchanged looks. Karen's story was collapsing fast. As they questioned her again, Karen's confidence cracked. She kept changing details, stumbling over her own lies, and pointing at me as if that would magically erase the evidence stacked against her. Finally, the officers informed her she was being taken into custody. Her face froze, then twisted into panic as they placed her in handcuffs. She shouted that the neighborhood would fall apart without her leadership, which only made everyone watching laugh. The ambulance checked my injuries. They weren't life-threatening, but the officers documented everything. Karen was charged with reckless endangerment, destruction of property, filing a false police report, and attempted insurance fraud. Not only was she ordered to pay full restitution for the repairs and renovations to my home, but she also had to cover the cost of my temporary housing while the construction took place. The judge sentenced her to jail time, making it very clear her behavior was dangerous and completely unacceptable. Watching her get led away was the first peaceful moment I'd had in days. The end, please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.